there are elements of what you learned in the past decade that are relevant. But let's just deal with the elephant in the room here, which is if you look at Bitcoin and you look at all the other cryptos, there's a crypto economy. It's got its own future. It's very complicated and murky. We could talk about it for 3 hours. There's competitive issues, security issues, regulatory issues, nation state issues, complicated. Then there's Bitcoin, a digital property on a dominant network. It doesn't need any of the other crypto whatever to be successful. For Bitcoin to be successful, there are any of 10,000 entities. The Sovereign Wealth Fund of Abu Dhabi, the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia, the Qataris, the Emiratis, the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund, every public investor, every macro investor, every large company on earth, any municipality, any state, any government, there's 10, 20,000 people, they go to sleep tonight. They could wake up tomorrow morning and they could say, I think Bitcoin looks like crypto gold. I'm going to go ahead and put 3% of my portfolio in it. That means I'm going to buy $4 billion of it. I'm going to buy $4 or $5 billion of it. It's nothing to me. It's nothing. It's like, figure out how important 2% of your money is. It's like that deal. It's like, I noticed it. I'm going to put 2-3% of my assets into it. We'll see where it goes. LFG. And they put the news release out on the wire, and Bitcoin doubles or triples. And then, if the Sovereign Wealth Fund of some Middle Eastern state did it, if they bought $5 billion, these people have $500 billion. Like the intelligent sovereign wealth funds, they're not, the central banks of smart countries, they're not sitting on a bunch of long-dated T-bills. They're not holding a bunch of sovereign debt. They're holding Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Google. It's the day that a Warren Buffett gets up and he says to some dude that works for him, I got 50 billion, figure out something to invest it in. And the dude says, oh, well, we bought $10 billion worth of Apple, and then Apple triples. And Warren Buffett made more money on Apple stock, which was a delegated decision by a dude. He made more money on Apple stock than he made in his entire life. And he's acknowledged to be like maybe one of the most successful investors of the last 100 years. And yet the thing he made the most money on was like an afterthought. So back to what does this mean to Bitcoin? It's like some dude with a $400 billion balance sheet can delegate to a portfolio manager to look at this thing. And that portfolio manager can say, I'm going to put 2% into it. And if you pick up the paper and you read that the Sovereign Wealth Fund of such and such state bought $5 billion worth of it, what happens is the next 5 countries, they think they'll put $5 billion into it. And then what happens next is somebody at Google will say, I guess we can hold $5 billion of it. And then somebody at Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley will say, I guess we probably should grab some. And then Ray Dalio with his $50 billion or $100 billion or $150 billion. Okay, well, I guess instead of like 0.5%, maybe 3%. Okay. And then all of a sudden Bitcoin spends from 40,000 to 150,000, 200,000. And I guess what I'm telling you is there's 10,000 people that could make $5 billion in 30 days if they wanted to bend over and pick up the money without taking a risk. And it's literally like they might just notice you. They haven't really noticed you yet. And that being the case, Kobe, everything you know for the past 12 years, right? And I was listening to the Kobe broadcast, but it's like 4 hours long, by the way. It's the longest stinging podcast. Like, and to your credit, guys, I didn't want to speed it up because I was kind of enjoying the banter. So, like, if I was just in it to cherry pick some facts, I would have watched it at 2x speed. But I kind of enjoyed it. So I got like halfway through it. I haven't got all the way through it. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know. Sometimes I learn it the hard way when I get beat up by the Hornets about, being oblivious to the New York agreement or the block size wars or something. So, I'm still learning, but at the end of the day, the future is going to be determined in part by the past. And in part of it is what the crypto industry thinks and does. But a lot of it is a function of what one regulator could get up tomorrow and put out a press release that would double the market. You know, any politician, there's probably 200 politicians. There's 10,000 big companies. There's 10,000 big institutional investors. There's 10,000 big governmental entities. Here's the big idea. The things at a tipping point, you don't need them all to agree. You just need anybody to agree. All you need is 1, 2, 3. One will tip 5, will tip 25, and then you spin up by an order of magnitude. So when will that happen? I don't know. Like, is it an if? It's not an if, it's a when. It will happen, because I can't really imagine that we live in a world where 30,000 people don't want billions of dollars of money. Like, sometimes I'll talk to these big investors, and they'll say, well, what's this thing with Bitcoin? I say, well, it's digital property. It's the dominant global digital asset network, and it's a lever. And here's the reason it's better than credit or bonds or real estate. Here's how it fits in your portfolio. And they're like, I got to think about it some more. And I try to always be very polite, but in the back of my head, like, you have $25 billion in your portfolio and you generated 2% yield last year, which is downright embarrassing because the S&P was up 25% and a freaking robot could have got 10x what you got. And I'm thinking, you must not like money that much.